Chapter 24. I'd expected the inside of the keep would also be made of clouds, and was surprised by what I saw. The place looked like it was made of stone. The outside must have been an illusion, so no one could see it from the ground. I looked around, trying to find Rockney, or even Nauki. I didn't know what I would do when I found them, seeing as I was no match for Rockney, but I had to try. Anila was right behind me. We stopped at an intersection in a crowded hallway filled with chairs, tables, coat racks, and a maroon rug that ran the entire length. There were 4 ways to go: forward, left, right, and back the way we'd come. The forward, left, and right ways ended in red doors. "Which way did he go?" Anila asked. "I don't know." I looked to the right again and noticed the door was slightly open. It was barely noticeable from here, but I could see it blowing slightly in a wind. "That way," I yelled, running down the hall. Anila was on my heels. Before we could go through the door, something behind us growled. We turned around and saw a large wolf at the end of the hall. A werewolf. It raced toward us, black fur shining as it passed the many torches on the walls. It was one of the scariest things I'd ever seen. Anila pushed the door open and pulled me into the room. We just managed to shut the door in time before the monster slammed into it. Anila pushed a bar in place to lock the door, but the werewolf was incredibly strong. The door wouldn't last long. Just as we started up the stairs, the door came crashing open behind us. I could feel the blood gushing from my nose as I tried to stay on my feet. I ran as fast as I could, but the werewolf was much faster. I waited for death. I could practically feel the monster's breath on the back of my neck. Anila and I got to the first landing and ran into the room. I turned to try and fight the monster off so Anila could escape, but as soon as the werewolf appeared, a blast of blue energy hit it in the chest. It fell to the ground, unconscious. I spun around, expecting to see Rockney. Instead, I saw Nauki. His hair was long and blue. He looked similar to Astrid's older alter ego. He looked more like a wizard than his brother. He wore a long blue robe that touched the floor. "Rockney's in the keep," I said, breathless and wiping my nose. "We have to get you out of here." He shook his head. "I'll have to face him. He managed to kill nearly my entire army. If I don't stop him now..." Anila and I looked at each other. "Rockney deceived my people and me," she said to Nauki. "I want to help you stop him." Nauki nodded. "But first, we must find him." "I'm right here, brother." Rockney stood in the landing, next to the unconscious werewolf, his hands behind his back. He stepped into the room, his eyes on the floor. He looked so calm, so smug. I hated him more than anything at that moment. "Hello, brother," Nauki said to him. "You've been very busy. Deceit, murder. After this is over, your list of friends will be greatly diminished." "When this is over, I won't need friends," Rockney said, though he sounded sad. Anila and I backed away to a wall. The room got colder by the second. The brothers stared at each other, 12 feet apart. I didn't want to be in the same room as these two, but I had to see what happened. If Rockney won, I had to stop him. I hadn't figured out how to stop him, though. "Do you really think you deserve the throne?" Nauki asked his brother. "You're immature and irresponsible. Reasons why you were passed over in the first place." Rockney chuckled, looking at the floor. "Though I agree with your assessment, nothing you say will change my mind. I'm not an evil man, just a desperate one." "You are evil," Anila shouted behind me. "You killed my father and the giants of Dargo Island. You forced your friends to fight against their will. They're probably dying for you, and you don't even care." "I do care," Rockney shouted. "I may have lost my friends' trust today, but I still care for them.
The potion I gave them made them stronger, better fighters. They're more powerful than your people. They'll be fine."
He looked at me.
"I saved Josh from falling to his death earlier. I'm not a monster."
"I hate you," I said before I could stop myself. Rockne looked at me. "I trusted you and you betrayed me," I continued. "You are a monster."
"I know, Dr. DeBelko, and I'm sorry."
"Don't call me that," I yelled. "You've been lying to me since the day we met. We were never friends." He looked hurt. He locked eyes with his brother.
"It appears I have nothing left to lose. Except your life, brother. You may be more powerful, but I have an army and you don't." "Your army isn't in this room."
Naoki grinned. Rockne waved his hands and the room suddenly became fuller. Shay, Victor, Champagne, and Astrid appeared behind him. They were covered in blood, and I had a feeling none of it belonged to them.
"They are now,"
Rockne said unnecessarily. Naoki looked a little nervous, but he stood his ground. Rockne had said he was powerful in his own realm. Maybe he had a few tricks up his sleeve. If so, he needed to pull them out now. Suddenly, Rockne's army jumped toward Naoki. He waved his hand and a mini tornado caught and tossed them across the room. They landed in a heap, and I couldn't tell if they were still alive. Rockne angrily shot fire from his hands toward his brother. The fire hit an invisible force field. Naoki didn't even blink. He did, however, lift a hand, causing Rockne to shoot backward onto the landing.
"You can't defeat me in my own home,"
he told Rockne. Rockne spit blood on the floor.
"It's my home, too," he whispered, standing up again. "It used to be your home, before you became a petulant child. You forced Father to banish you from this place. You could have stayed here with me, and perhaps gained the throne later on. You could have gone through the trial. But no, you had to have a tantrum and cause so much death and destruction." "Shut up!"
Naoki looked at the pile of Rockne's army to the side.
"I lost a lot of my power when I threw that curse at Shay. Most of who I am lies within my daughter. I can't get it back as long as Astrid lives."
I didn't like the sound of that.
"You're not going to kill her?"
He looked at me with a disgusted expression.
"Of course not. Though I don't know her well, I love her with all my heart." "Before this fight is over," Rockne said, raising his hands again, "you'll be ready to kill your daughter to get your power back."
He shot more fire from his fingers, and this time Naoki looked to be straining against the power. This went on for a minute, and I actually feared for Naoki's life. He dropped to his knees. Rockne laughed. I could barely hear it over the roar of the flames, but I saw his face. He had the most disturbing smile I had ever seen.
"We have to do something,"
Anila yelled at me. I nodded to her. I'd already come up with an idea, but I was scared to go through with it. But I had to. If Rockne defeated Naoki, everything would change for the worst. Rockne didn't have his brother's discipline. He would cause earthquakes and hurricanes just for the fun of it. He would use the elements to kill his enemies, or just people he didn't like. He couldn't gain the throne. I couldn't let him. I ran toward the fire. I saw Rockne's face just before I leaped into the flames, the fear in his eyes. In that instant, he knew what I was going to do. Before he could extinguish the fire, I jumped into it. The pain was the worst I'd ever felt. I guess that goes without saying, but still. I don't know how long I was in the fire, but when it finally stopped, I dropped to the stone floor. My skin and lungs were raw. I was dying. And then I wasn't. I heard a gasp, and then I felt a little less pain. I was leeching off of Rockne. I regained enough strength to lift my head. I saw him on his knees, his face pale. He dropped to his side, gasping.
I'm sorry, Dr. DeBelko,
he said to me, and then he fell to the floor. Rockne was dead. I looked at my arms. The skin was completely burned away, and I saw my muscles and bones. It was too much for me. I passed out.